Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever realized that within you is a voice that carries the very authority of heaven? A voice not meant to whisper in fear, but to roar in faith. A voice that shakes darkness, breaks chains, and declares victory when everything around you says defeat. Your voice carries authority because it is more than a simple sound that comes out of your mouth. It is the very expression of your belief, your confidence, and the power that resides within you. From the very beginning of time, words have shaped destinies, created worlds, and set the course of human history. When you speak, you are not merely filling the air with noise. You are releasing something that has the power to change circumstances, to uplift hearts, and to tear down barriers that stand in your way. The voice you carry is a tool given to you, a weapon that can be used to confront fear, to silence doubt, and to announce victory even before it appears in the natural. Every time you open your mouth and speak with conviction, you are placing your authority into action. Authority is invisible, but its results are visible in the way situations respond to your words. When you walk into a room and speak confidently, people listen. When you declare over your life that you will not be defeated, even your own mind begins to shift in agreement. The atmosphere bends toward the strength of a voice that is anchored in faith. It is not the loudness of the voice that makes it powerful, but the certainty behind it. A whisper filled with authority can silence a crowd of doubts, while a shout without conviction is nothing more than noise. Your voice becomes a vessel of authority when it is aligned with unwavering belief. The authority of your voice is not limited to how others hear you. It begins with how you hear yourself. When you speak words of life and strength, your own soul takes notice. You reprogram your thinking, you ignite your courage, and you awaken something inside that was lying dormant. Fear often tries to paralyze you by convincing you to stay quiet, but silence only strengthens the grip of fear. When you choose to speak, even trembling at first, something begins to shift inside of you. You realize that you are not powerless, that your words carry weight, and that your voice can push back against the darkness that tries to surround you. Think about how a lion asserts its dominance, not by its size alone, but by the roar that declares, "This is my territory." In the same way, your voice is a declaration to the world around you that you will not be silenced, that you will not be intimidated, and that you know who you are. Authority flows through your voice when it is connected to your inner conviction. It has the ability to establish boundaries, to protect your ground, and to make clear that you are standing firmly in your place. Without your voice, authority remains locked inside you, but when you release it, you give form and strength to everything you believe. Words have the power to build or to destroy, to heal or to wound, to bless or to curse. That is why your voice must be guarded and guided with intention. When you choose to speak with authority, you are not simply reacting to life, you are directing it. You are sending a signal that you will not accept defeat, that you will not surrender to negativity, and that you will walk boldly in the path laid before you. Even in the face of resistance, your voice has the power to shift the atmosphere. When you carry yourself with confidence and let your voice echo with authority, doors that seemed shut begin to open. Opportunities that felt distant draw closer, and people who doubted you begin to respect you. Your voice is one of the greatest gifts you possess, because it does not just represent sound, it represents your identity, your purpose, and your faith in action. To understand that your voice carries authority is to recognize that every word you release has the ability to shape your life and the lives of others. Faith-filled words move mountains because they are not ordinary words. They are declarations born from conviction, words that carry the weight of belief and the force of the unseen. A mountain often symbolizes the impossible, the immovable barrier that looms before you, blocking your path and challenging your courage. When you stand before such a mountain and speak words laced with doubt, the mountain remains unmoved. But when you open your mouth and release words charged with faith, something extraordinary happens. The mountain begins to bow, not because of your strength, but because faith is a force that commands change in both the natural and spiritual realms. Words fueled by faith carry a creative power that goes beyond human limitation, and when spoken, they set things into motion that cannot be seen with the eyes, but will soon be witnessed in reality. The authority of faith-filled words comes from the alignment of your heart and your mouth. Faith is not merely a feeling inside. It is a conviction so strong that it shapes the way you speak. When you truly believe something, it becomes impossible to stay silent. Words are the evidence of belief, and when your heart is full of faith, your mouth naturally declares what you expect to see. Speaking faith-filled words is not about ignoring reality. It is about declaring a greater reality, one where mountains are temporary obstacles and not permanent barriers. When your words agree with your faith, they release a force that begins to dismantle the impossible. Mountains are moved not by wishful thinking, but by bold declarations. To say to a mountain, "Be moved," requires confidence that what you speak will come to pass. Faith is that confidence. It is the assurance that your words are backed by divine authority. And because of that, the mountain must respond. Every time you choose to speak faith, instead of fear, you chip away at the stronghold of impossibility. The mountain may not crumble all at once, but with every faith-filled word, it loses its grip, it weakens, and it shifts until the path before you is clear. What seems unshakable in the natural is always subject to the supernatural power carried in faith-filled words. Faith-filled words also carry the power to change you before they change the mountain. When you speak them, your mind begins to align with your belief, your spirit is strengthened, and your courage rises. You begin to see not the size of the mountain, but the greatness of the one who stands with you. This inner shift is critical because mountains are not only physical or external, Many times they are fears, doubts, or limitations inside your own heart. When you declare words of faith, those inner mountains begin to break apart. The mountain of insecurity loses its strength. The mountain of fear collapses. The mountain of impossibility dissolves. Because faith-filled words reprogram your spirit to expect victory rather than defeat. Every miracle begins with a spoken word of faith. Healing, breakthrough, deliverance, restoration, all are set into motion when faith is declared out loud. Silent belief is powerful, but spoken belief releases that power into the atmosphere where it can begin to work. Just as a seed has no impact until it is planted, faith has no effect until it is spoken. Your words plant seeds into the soil of possibility, and faith-filled words plant seeds that will grow into mountains being moved. What you say consistently with unwavering faith creates the reality you will walk into. Fear says, this mountain is too big. Faith says, this mountain will move. The moment your words align with faith, the impossible becomes possible, and the immovable becomes movable. Silence is the enemy's weapon, because when you are silent, you surrender your authority, your conviction, and your ability to shift circumstances with your words. The enemy thrives on keeping people quiet, convincing them that their words don't matter, that their declarations won't change anything, and that speaking up is pointless. Yet history, faith, and life itself show that transformation begins the moment someone dares to speak. The strategy of silence is subtle. It tells you to keep your fears bottled inside, to bury your dreams, and to never declare the truth that could set you free. When you remain silent, the enemy wins without lifting a finger, because you have agreed to withhold the very weapon that could defeat him. Words are your power, and silence robs you of that power. The weapon of silence often disguises itself as wisdom. It whispers, don't say too much, don't make waves, don't declare victory until you see it. But silence in the face of fear is not wisdom, it is bondage. Mountains don't move by silence. Chains don't break by silence. Freedom doesn't come by silence. It is only when words are released that authority is activated. A courtroom does not decide a case until voices are heard. A leader does not inspire until words are spoken. A believer does not claim victory until faith is declared out loud. Silence is the strategy the enemy uses to stop the very force that has the potential to destroy him, your voice. When you accept silence, you accept defeat. The enemy knows this, which is why he will attack your confidence in speaking. He will tell you that your words carry no weight, that no one is listening, and that nothing will change even if you declare it. He wants you to believe that silence is safer than boldness. But the truth is, every moment you stay silent, the enemy grows stronger in your life, because you have refused to exercise the authority that was given to you. Silence gives him room to occupy territory that does not belong to him. Words, however, reclaim that territory and drive him out. Think about how silence works in the human spirit. When you stay quiet about your dreams, discouragement grows. When you remain silent about your faith, doubt takes root. When you refuse to speak life, negativity fills the void. Silence leaves space for fear, for lies, and for despair to take control. But when you open your mouth and begin to speak truth, even if your voice trembles, you release power that pushes back against the enemy's schemes. Speaking words of courage, words of faith, and words of authority may feel difficult at first, but they are necessary to break the grip of silence. The weapon of silence also isolates you. When you do not speak, others cannot hear your story, your testimony, or your encouragement. The enemy knows that your words might inspire someone else, so he tries to keep you silent. He knows your declaration might bring hope to someone who is ready to give up, so he convinces you to stay quiet. Silence not only robs you of victory, but also robs those around you of the impact your voice was meant to have. Your words were never just for yourself. They were given to lift, to build, to declare, and to inspire. Keeping silent is like hiding light under a basket. It denies the world the brightness it desperately needs. Breaking silence is an act of war against the enemy. Each word you speak in faith, each declaration of hope, each affirmation of truth is a blow against the darkness that silence tries to spread. Refusing to be silent is refusing to be defeated. It is standing up and saying, I will not allow the enemy to mute my power. The more you speak with courage, the weaker his hold becomes. Silence is his weapon, but your words are your victory. Speak what you believe, not what you see. Because what you see is often temporary, but what you believe has the power to shape a different reality. Life is full of circumstances that appear immovable, situations that look hopeless, and challenges that seem impossible. If you only speak based on what your eyes can see, you will always be limited by the present moment. But when you choose to speak what you believe, you rise above what is visible and tap into the unseen realm of possibility and faith. Speaking what you believe means aligning your words with conviction rather than conditions. It is choosing to declare victory while still standing in the middle of the battle, to proclaim healing even when sickness lingers, to speak prosperity while your pockets are still empty, and to confess peace even while storms rage around you. Your words have creative power, and they set the tone for your future. When you constantly speak only what you see, you are reinforcing the reality of your problems, giving them strength to remain. Saying things like, I am broke, I am sick, or I can't make it, keeps you bound to what you are experiencing. But when you declare, I am blessed, I am healed, or I am victorious, even while the evidence has not yet caught up, you are planting seeds of faith that will grow into a harvest of change. Belief is the foundation, and your words are the construction that builds on it. Speaking belief is not denial of reality. It is affirmation of a greater truth that has the power to transform reality. To speak what you believe requires courage, because it often contradicts what everyone else sees. People around you may call it foolishness, denial, or unrealistic optimism, but faith has always been about speaking beyond sight. The eyes can only see what is, but belief sees what can be. Speaking belief is declaring that your current situation is not the final word. It is refusing to allow fear, doubt, or negativity to dictate your vocabulary. When your language reflects your belief instead of your circumstance, you shift the atmosphere around you. Words rooted in belief create expectancy, and expectancy paves the way for breakthrough. The reason speaking belief is powerful is that it trains your heart and mind to align with what you want to see instead of what you fear. Every time you declare words of faith, you are strengthening your inner resolve, reprogramming your thoughts, and preparing yourself to walk into the reality you have spoken. When you continually reinforce doubt with your words, your faith weakens. But when you continually reinforce belief with your words, your faith grows stronger and stronger until the impossible begins to bow. This principle works both ways, which is why discipline over your speech is so critical. Speaking what you believe also inspires others. When people see you boldly declaring hope in the face of hardship, they are stirred to lift their eyes beyond their own problems. Your voice becomes a light, and your words become a guide that reminds them not to be enslaved by what they see. Every declaration of belief adds to the collective strength of those around you, proving that hope is contagious and courage multiplies when it is spoken aloud. Sight will always try to control your words, but faith invites you to speak beyond sight. Speaking belief means calling things into existence before they manifest, declaring light when there is darkness, and choosing life over despair. It is not pretending problems do not exist, but refusing to let problems define your future. When you choose to speak what you believe instead of what you see, you set yourself on a path where your words align with your destiny, and your mouth becomes the instrument that brings tomorrow's victory into today's reality. Your roar breaks chains because it is the outward expression of the power, authority, and freedom that resides within you. Chains represent anything that binds you: fear, doubt, insecurity, addiction, sickness, or the weight of past failures. These chains are designed to keep you small, to silence you, and to prevent you from stepping into the fullness of your purpose. A roar is not just noise, it is a declaration of release, a refusal to remain bound, and a powerful announcement that the hold of those chains is broken. When you choose to lift your voice in boldness and conviction, you shatter the silence that chains depend on. Your roar is not simply an emotional outburst. It is a spiritual force that sends shockwaves into every area where bondage has tried to hold you captive. Chains thrive in silence, in secrecy, and in submission. As long as you stay quiet, the chains around your spirit, mind, or body feel secure. But the moment you let out a roar of faith, the atmosphere changes. That roar declares, I will not be held down any longer. I will not stay confined. I am breaking free. Your roar breaks chains because it confronts the very thing that is trying to keep you bound. Fear cannot survive in the presence of a roar. Doubt cannot linger when faced with a declaration of victory. Oppression loses its power when a voice of authority rises against it. Chains that look permanent begin to weaken and fall when they are challenged by the roar of someone who refuses to be enslaved. Your roar is more than personal liberation. It also breaks chains for those around you. When you speak out with faith and courage, you inspire others to believe that they too can be free. A single roar can awaken hope in the hearts of people who have been living in silence for too long. Your words can unlock prisons that others thought would never open. Just as one spark can ignite a forest, one roar can set countless others free. Chains are often collective. They bind communities, families, and generations. But when one person dares to roar, the sound carries beyond their own life and begins to shake the chains off others who hear it. The roar that breaks chains does not come from natural strength alone. It comes from a deep awareness of who you are and the authority you carry. When you roar with conviction, you are not simply making noise. You are releasing the truth of your identity and the power of faith that cannot be denied. That kind of roar has a frequency that chains cannot withstand. It resonates with strength, determination, and divine authority. No chain is too strong, no shackle too heavy, no prison too fortified to resist the power of a roar that comes from a heart anchored in faith. Chains represent limitations, but your roar declares limitlessness. Chains represent oppression, but your roar declares freedom. Chains represent silence, but your roar is sound that cannot be ignored. It announces to the world and to every obstacle that you are no longer a prisoner, that you are rising, and that nothing will stop you. A roar may seem simple, but it carries with it the force to break what hands cannot touch and to destroy what eyes cannot see. Each time you roar with boldness, chains fall, strongholds crumble, and freedom becomes your reality. Your roar is the key that unlocks the prison door, the hammer that smashes the lock, and the sound that proclaims that nothing can hold you back any longer. Confidence in identity empowers your roar because knowing who you are gives strength to everything you speak and every stand you take. When identity is uncertain, the voice is shaky, timid, and unsure. But when identity is firmly rooted, the voice carries authority and conviction. A roar is not powerful simply because it is loud. It is powerful because it comes from a place of certainty. Lions are feared not only because of their sound, but because their roar represents who they are, the kings of the jungle. In the same way, when you understand your true identity, your words take on a power that cannot be ignored. The enemy knows this, which is why he attacks identity more than anything else. If he can convince you that you are weak, unworthy, or insignificant, then your roar will remain silent. But once you are confident in who you are, no lie, no fear, and no opposition can silence you. Your roar flows from identity, and identity creates stability. People who are unsure of themselves are easily swayed by opinions, circumstances, and challenges. They shrink back when opposition comes because they are not certain of their ground. But those who know their identity stand tall, even when storms rage, because their confidence is not based on temporary feelings or external validation. They understand that their worth is not defined by failure, rejection, or limitation, but by a deeper truth that cannot be shaken. That awareness gives their voice a weight that others cannot deny. When you know who you are, you no longer need to seek approval before you speak, and you no longer need to hide in fear when challenges rise. Your roar becomes bold because it flows from the unshakable confidence of identity. Confidence in identity also silences the lies that try to hold you back. The world is full of voices that say you are not enough, that you will never succeed, that your voice does not matter. Without a strong sense of identity, those lies take root and silence your roar. But when you are confident in who you are, those lies lose their power. You are able to rise above them and speak with clarity and strength. Confidence in identity makes you immune to the constant comparisons and criticisms that weigh so many people down. Instead of echoing the doubt of others, you roar with the assurance that you are chosen, capable, and destined for greatness. The roar that comes from identity is also contagious. When others see and hear you speaking with confidence, it stirs something inside them to discover their own voice. People are drawn to authenticity, and nothing is more authentic than someone fully confident in who they are. Your roar becomes a rallying cry that gives others permission to rise, to speak, and to embrace their own identity. This is why leaders who are secure in themselves are able to inspire nations and movements, because their confidence in identity empowers their voice to resonate far beyond their own lives. Confidence in identity empowers your roar because it connects your voice to your purpose. Without identity, words are empty, but with identity, words are infused with meaning and direction. Every roar carries a message, and when that roar comes from someone who knows exactly who they are, it becomes unstoppable. The world cannot silence it, fear cannot diminish it, and opposition cannot withstand it. A roar that is born out of identity shakes the atmosphere because it is not just sound, it is the release of destiny. Knowing your identity transforms your roar from mere noise into a declaration that changes lives, breaks chains, and announces freedom